So the Corps Discovery's discovery of a water route from the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean became known in history as the Northwest Passage. Caitlin, my dear, what was the nickname that William Clark gave Sacagawea's baby boy? Pomp. Actually gave him Pomp. Okay, which was a Shoshone word meaning firstborn, and also the reason the Pompey came into it when he added the EY is because this little guy used to dance around the campfires, and I don't know why, but he just thought that was kind of cool, so he added EY to it, so Pompey. So the nickname he actually gave was Pomp. Okay, but we said already that the Corps of Discovery spent their first winter where? Mandan villages. Okay, Siobhan, my dear, what was the Christian name of Sacagawea's son? Christian name.
Baptiste.
What is his first name? Help her out. Jean, actually. It sounds like, it's spelled like Jean. J-E-A-N. Jean Baptiste. Okay? Emily, my dear.
Oh man.
Huh?
Said oh man.
Oh man.
Hello.
Now, it was at the mouth of what river that Lewis and Clark split up looking for the correct route to the Missouri at a place called Decision Point. But it was at the mouth of what river? Their present-day Loma, Montana. And it's now known as Decision Point because they split up because they didn't know if the river I'm looking for the answer was going north. Was that the Missouri or was the one going south the Missouri? So they split up at Decision Point at the mouth of what river? You can't ask Mrs. Malin because she won't know the answer. Mrs. Malin. Anybody want to help her? Go ahead, Pete. Marias River. Named after Mariah Wood, Maria Malin. So the Marias River. Okay, the Marias River is where they decided. Yellowstone, actually, Pete, is running in the southern part, so it would be, okay? All right. Sage? The Gallatin River in Montana was named after Albert Gallatin. What was his significance to President Jefferson? It was one of the three forks of the Missouri, the Gallatin, named by Lewis and Clark. Who was Albert Gallatin? Why would they name a river after him? Because he was Jefferson's what? He was Jefferson's what? Morgan? Who is Albert Gallatin? Is some dude they came up with? Why wasn't it called the Tigner River? He was the Secretary of the Treasury under Jefferson, yes. Okay, now, there's your review for tomorrow's test. We're not done. Here is the review for Thursday's test. So you mark it however you want, but that's the story. The questions I just asked you the last, 15 minutes or so will be on the test tomorrow. The questions I'm going to ask you from now until the end of the period will be on the test on Thursday. Unless you want the whole thing tomorrow. I don't think they do. We'll see. All right, starting over. Macklin. What was the name of the first river that Lewis and Clark came upon in Montana that ran into the Missouri River? Milk River. Very good. So the name of the first river that Lewis and Clark came upon in Montana that ran into the Missouri River was the Milk River. Okay, Brady, here you go. What single event that occurred at the three forks of the Missouri was very beneficial to the Corps discovery? The most important thing that happened at the three forks of the Missouri. First of all, you have to think, what happened at the three forks of the Missouri? Well, the Lewis and Clark expedition finally caught up with the Shoshone Indians. So what was the single event that was very beneficial? You know, you could say that because they became a lot friendlier. So that would actually be a correct answer. What also would be a correct answer? What was the importance of meeting up at the Shoshone at the Three Forks? Desperate for these horses. So you can really put either one of those. So two important events that occurred at the Three Forks of the Missouri that was very beneficial to the Corps of Discovery was when they met up with the Shoshone Indians, and Sacagawea, his brother, was the chief of the Shoshone, which made him very cooperative, and they needed horses. That was the big one. They needed horses. Okay? So I actually was looking for horses, but actually what you said, Brady, was correct. Okay? Delaney, what was the significance of the location of Fort Clatsop on the shores of the Pacific Ocean? Why was that so significant? Why was that so significant?
They voted on it, and both Sacagawea and York got a vote. So
Which meant that, for the first time ever.
history, a black man and a woman voted.
Very good. That's very good. Make sure you have, that's the most important part. The names aren't so important. It's the first time that a woman and a black man had the opportunity to vote in our country's history. It's kind of interesting. Okay, Dane. What significant landmark did William Clark discover on his return trip through southern Montana along the Yellowstone River?
Is that Pompey's Tower?
Pompey's Tower, yep. Yep, Pompey's Tower. Very good. Okay, Michaela, my dear, give me two congressional changes that were made under President Jefferson. Two congressional changes that were made under President Jefferson.
He repealed the tax on whiskey
Very good.
and repealed the judiciary abrogation act.
Very good. JC, what else did he do? Give me a couple more.
Did you say the one about the bank?
Nope.
He kept the bank even though he was against it, he thought it was unconstitutional.
Okay.
And then he allowed Albert Gallatin to use federal money to help with the war debt.
Pay off the state debts because, yeah, state debts because of the war. Very good. Any others? Tristan, you got another one?
Reduce the Army and Navy by cutting funding.
Very good. You're going to need to know two of those. So pick the two you like. You're going to need to know two. Okay, Casey. After Marbury versus Madison occurred and was ruled upon, what other action did President Jefferson attempt to remove partisan Federalist judges? One word. So I got it. What do you attempt? I'll give you an apple if you get it right. Not a peach, but an apple. So what did he attempt? Judicial impeachment. Impeachment's all you need. He tried to impeach those federal judges to get them out of office. He had only had two in which it even occurred. One guy was impeached and convicted by the Senate because he was mentally unbalanced, and the other one was impeached by the House if the Senate voted not to throw him out of office or to acquit him because they could find no crimes, high crimes. Okay? Elise? Who was the only man affected by the impeachment attempt by President Jefferson to remove those partisan Federalist judges? Who was the only man that was affected by it that I mentioned? Samuel Chase, that's right. Yep. Because he was impeached by the House, but acquitted by the Senate. I didn't give you the other guy's name, right, that got thrown out. So Samuel Chase is what we're looking for. Okay? Okay, Ivan. I want you to tell me the circumstances that led to the duel between Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. What were the circumstances that led to the duel? Okay?
So,
Not what happened at the duel, but what led to it.
so Alexander Hamilton was running for governor of New York, right?
He wasn't.
He wasn't?
No, but
No, Burr was.
they had 50-50 chance. Okay. Aaron Burr was running for governor of New York. And?
Wasn't it Alexander, wasn't Hamilton doing that too?
No.
But wasn't he just talking smack?
Well, that's the modern term, yes. So go ahead. So Aaron Burr, who was the vice president, chose not to rerun for the vice presidency because he wanted to be governor of New York. Okay, so what did Alexander Hamilton do?
Talk a lot of bad things about it.
Okay, and he tried to convince people to
Not vote.
not vote for him. And what happened?
They did.
What's that?
They
They didn't?
did.
So he didn't get elected?
No, he did get elected.
He did? Oh, I'll tell you, history's changing as we speak.
I said he did.
You did it.
He did? Oh. I don't think.
You want a 58-year-old to remind you? I'll try my
Yes.
best. Okay. Okay. So we're rewriting history here, a la Ivan Perez. So Alexander Hamilton first was running for governor of New York. Now you're saying that Burr is, right?
No, Aaron Burr was.
Okay, and so Alexander Hamilton was talking smack on him, right?
Telling them not to vote for him.
Not to vote, and so what happened?
He did win.
And he didn't win. And so what did Burr
Alexander
do?
didn't win. So then, Aaron Burr didn't win. And so, sorry. And then Burr challenged him to a duel
Why?
because that's what he did in olden days.
Well, why did he do it though? Because he was what?
He didn't like.
He was mad. He
Yeah.
blamed Alexander Hamilton for his loss. So don't forget the detail here. Okay? And so he challenged him to a duel. Very good. That's all you got to have. What circumstances? Aaron Burr was running for governor of New York. Alexander Hamilton campaigned against him, and Burr eventually lost. Burr blamed Hamilton for the defeat and challenged him to a duel. So who challenged who?
Aaron Burr
Burr challenged Hamilton. Okay, now Caitlin, tell me the circumstances that led to Alexander Hamilton's death. So you gotta explain the duel.
Okay, so they walked, they remember pieces away from each other.
Okay.
I don't know what that was. And then when they turned around for fires first, and Hamilton didn't attempt to fire at all, and was more
And who was? If you don't fire at all, it's a good, I mean, you can figure it out, but who was more, okay, and so he was mortally wounded and died. So they took off their 10 paces. There's strategy behind that I hope that Ivan is thinking about. Hey, by the way, did Mason Irvine come talk to you yet?
No, I haven't talked to
Yeah, he's
him.
gonna give you some strategy, because he was my victim last year. But anyway, so they walk their paces, they turn. Burr chooses to fire right away, hits Hamilton. Hamilton never really had the intention of firing, according to history. And Hamilton was mortally wounded, which means you are wounded and die as a result of the wound. Okay? So that's what happened there. Now, I'm gonna give you a short essay question. And I just want you to write it down, and then you can figure it out. Here's the short essay question, okay? In the Supreme Court, in the Supreme Court case, Marbury versus Madison, explain the following. In the Supreme Court case, Marbury versus Madison, explain the following. And there are going to be 5 things you have to explain. First one is, what was the reason for the court case? That's the first thing you're going to have to answer. What was the reason for the court case? Number 2, let me go a little faster. Okay, what was the reason for the court case? Second thing I want you to answer in the essay. Who specifically was affected by the actions leading to the case? So first question you got to answer is, what was the reason for the court case? Second question, who specifically was affected by the actions leading to the case? Third thing you have to answer is, what was Chief Justice Marshall's ruling? What was Chief Justice Marshall's ruling? So I'll go back. Number 1, what was the reason for the court case? Number 2, who specifically was affected by the actions leading to the case? Number 3, what was Chief Justice Marshall's ruling? Number 4, what was the effect of his ruling? What was the effect of his ruling? And number 5, what was the end result of this historic Supreme Court case? So I will repeat those again just to make sure that you're clear on that, okay? Number 1, what was the reason for the court case? Number 2, who specifically was affected by the actions leading to the case? Number 3, what was Chief Justice Marshall's ruling? Number 4, what was the effect of his ruling? And number 5, what was the end result of this historic Supreme Court case? You want some help, or do you want to go on your own? Okay, so what was the reason for the court case, Dane? Why did we even have a court case, Marbury versus Madison? Why? What was the reason for that?
Because Jefferson ordered James Madison not to deliver commissions to Federalist judges.
Very good. And so that's part of the answer, but that was the reason. But how did we get, I'll just leave it there. That's a good answer. Jefferson ordered his Secretary of State, James Madison, not to deliver commissions to Federalist judges that were appointed by who?
Oh, by John Adams.
Very good. So the second question is, who specifically was affected by the actions leading to the case? Who was that person that was specifically affected? William Marbury. He was affected because he sued. So you need to put for that second answer, William Marbury was affected and sued, which went all the way to what? The Supreme Court. So there's your answer to the second part. William Marbury was affected and sued, which went all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, Maddie, what was Chief Justice Marshall's ruling in Marbury versus Madison?
He ruled that Marbury held the right to his commission by the Judiciary Act of 1789.
However, Pete, no, what did? Now don't mess up. Maddie's got the first part right. He ruled that Marbury did have the right to his commission according to the Judiciary Act of 1789. However, Marshall ruled that what? The Judiciary Act of 1789, now continue, had what? Well, therefore, the Judiciary Act of 1789 was what? He ruled it unconstitutional, which meant that Marbury would not receive his commission. So let me repeat that to you. His ruling was that Marbury had a right to his commission according to the Judiciary Act of 1789. However, he further ruled that the Judiciary Act of 1789 had given the Supreme Court more power than the Constitution had allowed. Therefore, the Judiciary Act of 1789 was unconstitutional, and Marbury would not receive his commission. Okay? Now, I actually answered the fourth question by that last statement. What was the effect of his ruling? That Marbury did not receive his commission. Okay? Now it says, what was the end result of this historic Supreme Court case? How about that, Delaney? What was the result that I'm looking for? By making that decision, he established what? By making that decision that the Judiciary Act was unconstitutional, what precedent does he set? Judicial review, which means what?
It means that the Supreme Court can overturn elected.
Very good. And that had never been the case before. So, when I'm answering this question, I think I've got just about enough time to get through it. What was the reason for this court case? Well, President Jefferson ordered his Secretary of State, James Madison, not to deliver commissions to those Federalist judges appointed by Adams. Who specifically was affected by the actions leading to the case? William Marbury, who sued, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. What was Chief Justice Marshall's ruling? He ruled that Marbury had a right to his commission according to the Judiciary Act of 1789. However, Marshall further ruled that the Judiciary Act of 1789 had given the Supreme Court more power than the Constitution had allowed. Therefore, the Judiciary Act of 1789 was unconstitutional, and the result of his ruling was Marbury would not receive his commission. And what was the end result of this historic Supreme Court case? That Marshall had established the doctrine, or you could say precedent, of judicial review, which meant that the Supreme Court could exercise their power to decide whether an act of Congress was constitutional or unconstitutional. There's your essay. Now, here would be my point. Because I think you're doing a good job, I'm going to just forget the essay I had on the British Orders and Council. I think this will be enough. So if you're interested in getting studied up for that, for Thursday, I will leave this review posted and you can listen to it again if you would like to explain the answer. And I want that essay written in complete sentences, and I want it written so as if I gave it to Mr. Rose, who I would assume doesn't know a lot about this, maybe he does, but he would know more about it, Marbury versus Madison, if he read this essay that you wrote. Okay? Don't assume I know it, because I do. So you're not writing it so I understand it. You're writing it so that someone that doesn't know it would understand it. So the test will still be the same amount of points. The first one's worth how much? 100 tomorrow, and the one on Thursday will be worth 60, 160. Okay, and then Friday, we're still down there for an assignment. So we are going to live in the Commons Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 5th period.